Hey, what's up, guys? I got my roommate Steven here with us, aka Mr. Hoppers. I'll link his YouTube down in the description. Today we're going to be reviewing Pokemon Sword and Shield. We have behind us, we have Pokemon Sword, and we're just going to go through a few things to get a little bit of idea of what this game is about, what's different, what we liked, what we disliked. So we want to first start out with some of the controversy that was surrounding this game before it came out, and that was some of the animations. They didn't feel like they were done, and the Pokédex, there wasn't the full complete Pokédex. There was only about 400 that made the game. So, Steven, what are your thoughts on that?
The whole controversy about it, it seemed like a lot of people were complaining about how there isn't a national dex and that there's only 400 Pokemon in the game.
Right.
And a lot of them made a return. There's some new ones. I think there's probably like 150 new ones. I don't actually know the exact number. But I guess the controversy begins with how Game Freak basically lied to the people of, like, they were telling them that all the sprites were new, which that's also kind of partially true, only because of the fact that there's obviously new Pokemon in the game. So I guess data miners found out that there was a lot of the older Pokemon were just transferred over from Sun and Moon, maybe Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu as well, because they had the polygons side by side and there was no difference. So, and they said they didn't do that. They said they made everything from scratch. So people were getting upset because that was their excuse for why they didn't have time to put all the Pokemon in the game.
Right.
So.
Right. And I know from my experience, I do a lot of Twitter. I get a lot of my news from there. So Nintendo posts a lot of things and people post their thoughts on it. My big thing before I almost didn't want to get the game because of the animations I was seeing from Twitter that things were being leaked, and especially remember Square Bunny. He had a double kick animation that was just a little hop, and then that was a double kick. So what I didn't know, though, there was so many other different animations that look fantastic in the game, which double kick and maybe a few other Pokemon moves that didn't vibrate as all the other ones do. People were focusing them on too much and almost ruining the game for everybody.
I think they were looking for anything to really as well, because when that kind of stuff happens, those controversies and like things like that, people try to look for the worst in the games. But double kick has always had that animation too. And in fact, it seemed like any move that had multiple hit animations, where they attack up to 2 to 5 times, would have a much shorter animation than regular ones, probably to speed up the process of that. So you're not looking at an animation of double kick twice in a row, or like a move like Fury Swipes, which can hit up to 5 times, where it's just them hopping, I believe, and then it's like the swipe animation.
Right.
But not from there. It's just the sprite.
Okay. And now you can turn battle animations completely off.
Now you
correct?
can turn it completely off.
Okay. So it speeds through the battle almost like.
But that doesn't affect, like, if somebody is putting off animations, like turning them off, and then trying to say like, hey, this is the game, like, it's not.
Right.
Right. But there's always going to be people that kind of get upset.
They want to stir the pot so they can get credibility, and they can get attention. So I think me and Steven have both beat the game, so we know what we're talking about as far as our thoughts, that animations and the Pokédex, in our opinions, didn't alter the game at all. In fact, we think I believe you agree with me. We think it's a fantastic game.
I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
Definitely.
To be honest with you.
Definitely. Now, we want to go over some of the new mechanics. So we were talking about this before, the Dynamaxing. What is Dynamaxing? You want to explain to these guys what it is, how it works?
Dynamaxing can only be used once per battle, and only in certain areas, with the exception of some battles, usually gym leader battles. But they work. The way I look at them is they're very similar to Mega Evolutions, where the Pokemon supposedly gets a higher attack boost and like other stat boosts increases, but I I haven't seen anything online of what those increases are other than the HP. So I'm not 100% sure. I've seen 50-50 on if it increases attack and stuff. But basically, every Pokemon in the game can Dynamax. They can all get larger, so you can have a large version of any Pokemon, including the first evolution to the final evolution of a Pokemon. And the Pokemon, it's a great mechanic. It works only for 3 turns for Dynamaxing as well. But Gigantamaxing is kind of special in a way that only certain Pokemon can get Gigantamax. I believe that's how it's pronounced, but I don't know 100% on that.
Maybe Gigantamax.
It might be Gigantamax.
Who cares? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just something different. They have these Gmax abilities that they get, right? Okay. So they have certain more ultra moves, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
And those moves usually give off a special effect at the end of the battle too.
Cool.
Or not the end of the battle, but during the battle feature of that move.
Like more of like an animation wise, or
well,
area of effect?
Animation is usually always different, I believe.
Right. Okay.
And then the effect that it does to the field or something is more unique to the other moves, because every fire Pokemon, and any Pokemon that Dynamaxes and uses a fire move will always use the same move, which I believe is Max Flare, and that will make it so that it creates sunlight for 5 turns in the battle. Okay. Which increases your fire damage.
I remember that.
Now, every Pokemon will do this as long as they have a fire move and they're Dynamaxed. It doesn't have to be a fire-type Pokemon. But only certain Pokemon, the Gigantamax Pokemon, will get a special move that replaces whatever that move is for. So I believe if it's like Gigantamax Charizard, his fire move wouldn't be Max Flare. Instead, it'll be, I think it's Gigamax Wildfire might be his move. And I think it always inflicts burn on the enemy or all the enemies on the field or something like that. I know Butterfree has a really cool one where his move, I don't remember the name, can inflict a random status element on anyone on the field. So it'll choose between paralysis, sleep, or poison.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So, and that's special to Butterfree, as far as I know.
Right.
So, but only Gigantamax Pokemon get those moves. So.
Now, after all that, do you think this should be an ongoing feature for Pokemon games, or do you think this is a one-time thing for just this game, and then they might move on to something else? What do you think? Do you think they should install it into the Pokemon series, or should it just be a standalone for this game?
I think it would make sense to be more standalone for this type of game.
I agree.
Because the story and everything kind of, not to spoil anything, but the story kind of links to what's happening as far as how Dynamax works. So to have it in another world kind of wouldn't fit, or another region. But I really hope that they bring the Mega Evolutions back.
Okay, yeah.
Because I always thought those were more unique. They were cool. I do like the Dynamax feature in the sense that every Pokemon can Dynamax. Okay. So now people that don't have a Pokemon that they like that say doesn't have a Mega Evolution, now they can they have that ability to make their Pokemon stronger. And that's always a cool thing, because there's so many different Pokemon in the game, and so many people have so many favorites. No,
I definitely agree. I think you're right that Dynamax should be standalone, and we'll see what they bring back something like the Mega Evolutions the next game, or even something entirely different.
Or the Z moves.
Or the Z moves
were always really cool.
That was neat. I remember in Sun and Moon that was really cool. Now let's move on to our next topic. Catching Pokemon. I felt, in my opinion, the catching part of the game was more exciting to me. I don't know why. I asked you yesterday. I said, Steven, this is the first time I remember that catching Pokemon granted experience, and you corrected me that it was not. Yeah. Was it Sun and Moon was the first time?
So I'm not 100% on the first time. Right. I think it goes as far back as X and Y.
Okay, wow.
But it might even go even further back than that. I never played Black and White, and I never played Diamond and Pearl, which were I think the most recent ones before that. Right. But
so yeah, and I played almost all the Pokemon except Black and White. That's the only generation of Pokemon I did not play, and this is the first time I noticed experience granted for catching Pokemon. I don't know if it was because it's on the console, it's just more fluid. I don't know. I had just had a much more better time catching Pokemon. It was just more involved for me, and that was just a personal opinion. I don't know what about you. Maybe the same, or I don't know if you get what I'm getting.
Or as far as catching them,
it's just catching them. Yeah, I just have more satisfaction of catching them.
It definitely helps, especially since I remember the old games when you couldn't, when you captured a Pokemon, you didn't get any experience, which sometimes it was harder than just killing the Pokemon.
Right.
You know,
right,
and making them faint to get that experience.
Because you want to continue to level up, so you continue with the story in the game.
But now I was more prone to capturing them, especially in the beginning of the game, because I like completing the Pokédex. I always like going for that shiny charm in every game. So the fact that I can do that and still level my Pokemon as I'm playing the game, and they all get experience now.
Right.
Now that's not necessarily new either. They've had that feature as well.
That was like a slow progression. It was like your, experience all XP all was like on one Pokemon, and then just that Pokemon was. And then it slowly built up to the whole party, so that's cool.
The older games had items called the experience share, so that all your party members get it. But now that just seems to be the default.
Normalized,
which I like. You can get right into the game. You don't have to be like an expert or anything, and all your Pokemon can level up very quickly by capturing, and it makes sense. I think the capturing mechanic where they get experience makes sense in a Pokemon game that's. A whole game is about catching them all. Right. So
yeah, absolutely, I totally agree. What about online features in this game? Oh. It's the first console Pokemon game, and I think they went pretty good with the online features, with the raid battles, the trading, and then we'll discuss about the open world and how that felt with being online. You got to see people riding around bikes. Now it was a little laggy. But it was still cool to see, this is just the beginning of something incredible.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good building block, basically.
Right, foundation.
Yeah.
Introduction.
A foundation for a much better Pokemon experience in the future.
Right.
And I think that's what kind of happened with Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee when they first introduced Pokemon being out in the open world. You can see them.
Yes.
And then they took it to a whole new level with this game. So I'm thinking that if they keep that up and they learn from that, they can make maybe they can make a full open world game.
Right.
Because this is not entirely a full open world game. There's an area that's basically your world.
Right.
But then there's still the linear aspects like the routes and everything that are very linear. Still have Pokemon, still have things going on. But I would love to see like a huge open world game where everything is just open world.
And you have actually online players where you can see, you can battle whenever.
Yeah.
I think that'll be crazy. I think initially people were expecting that with this game, and that maybe the technology just isn't there yet, but this is a good introduction to what's to come in future Pokemon games. So it's very exciting times we live in. So, and me and Steven, we're millennials. We played since Red and Blue, so we definitely have seen it all with the Pokemon games and their evolution. So, just to add on one more thing about the open world, I thought the open world was just phenomenal because of the way the Pokemon came out of the grass and you saw them. Like, do I want that one? Because like if Pokemon was real, you go out there, you see the Pokemon right away. It's not just going to randomly come up. But then they did add that. Still, there's some Pokemon just in the grass where you can't see, and there's a little exclamation point that comes up, and you just go right to it. So they did a little mix of that, and I thought that was cool. I thought that tidied up things like that. So, and the last few things I wanted to discuss with Steven here was the story, the difficulty, and the difficulty of the game, as soon as I can pronounce it correctly. So we'll go on the story, and there might be some minor spoilers, nothing too crazy. I mean, I want to talk about the rivals of the game. Rivals are always so big to the story plot of the game. Let's talk about our number one rival, Hop.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Hop?
I actually liked him. I thought he was pretty cool. I kind of like the little plot twist at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pretty cool guy. I thought he was pretty chill. He asked to battle you quite a bit, maybe a little too much. A lot of people would complain about that. You know, he always want to battle you. But I guess he's your rival, so that makes sense. But I thought the other characters were a little more noticeable. Like BD, I think is his name, or
Yeah,
is
BB.
Yeah.
And I was kidding around with you. I thought it was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
girl at first.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah,
I thought BB was a chick, and so that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I do like the mixture of BB was kind of like, I think that's his name, Beeb or BB. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was kind of like the more ignorant one, the more aggressive one, where Hop was more of your childhood friend.
Yeah.
Was more of. But I think as it got on, he got just a little teeny bit more aggressive. Like he just wanted to be better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I can respect that. Instead of trying to be your friend all the time, he was trying to get better and he wanted to beat you. You know, so that he had goals. He was very goal oriented. So that was a nice change of pace from Sun and Moon, where he was just strictly your buddy.
Yeah.
And he was happy-go-lucky all the time. So, and then we had Marnie, what's her name? Marnie, the girl.
Yep.
And she was here and there, and she wanted to beat you as well, and Team Yell supported her and things like that. So, and then of course Leon.
Yeah.
Leon was the champion, and I like Leon. I personally liked him.
Yeah, I thought he was a pretty cool guy. I liked him too.
It's funny how he got lost all the time, and he was bad at directions. So that was pretty hilarious.
I don't want to. I don't want to. This is a minor spoiler, but I liked how because a lot of people always complain that your rival doesn't choose the Pokemon that's strong to your type. He always picks the one weaker.
Yes.
So when you picked the Grass starter, he picked the Water starter.
Yes, you did.
So he picked Sobble. But however, then we always wonder what happens to that third Pokemon. He gets left out. He just gets left there. You know, like in the old Pokemon Red and Blue games when you chose Charmander and your rival chose
What
Squirtle
happened
because
then?
he was, you know,
Yeah.
you chose the stronger one.
Yeah.
Bulbasaur was just there chilling,
Right.
like nothing, you know. But I liked how at the end it was a nice little twist where I saw Leon throw out Inteleon because he was weak to my type. So he actually took in that Sobble and trained him, and you don't even like hear about it until you see it, and you're like, oh wow, he had the Sobble that, you know, he raised the one that we didn't take, you know, that me and Hob didn't take.
That was definitely cool. That was a nice way to tie up what happened to that Pokemon in the beginning.
And especially since it makes sense because the champion at the end of every game usually would be a rival, at least in the older games. So it was nice to have that champion who had the Pokemon that was strong to your type that you chose. For the most part, most people would have their starter at the end of that fight. So even though he was weaker, like my Scorbunny was weaker, I was tempted to use him anyway just because it would have created such an epic scene with us just using our starters, you know? So it's always a good feeling.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. And the characters, I didn't have any problems with the characters. I don't think I had any problems with any characters. Some of the characters were goofy. But other than that, it's a Pokemon game. You should expect that kind of stuff. So now, the last topic is the difficulty of the game. I want to go ahead and say my piece, and then we'll let you go ahead and say your piece about the difficulty of the game. I think, and a lot of our friends who played it kind of rushed right through it. And near the, I think maybe in the middle of the game, near the end of the game, it was really difficult for them to beat some of these gyms and even the challenges at the end. So now I think, I know I took my time a little bit to catch a little bit more Pokemon, gain my experience up a little, like that. So the gym battles were a little easier for me. And not up till the end of the game where the difficulty really increased for me, and I had to use some full restores. I had to manage my Pokemon a little better. So near the end, if you take your time in the beginning, you're gonna get a little more time near the end, easier time in the beginning. So that's my piece on the difficulty of the game. I do, and this is, like I said, minor spoilers in this video. I do miss the Elite Four. I do miss the Elite Four because I was going in the championship stuff. fully prepared. I had full restores, I had max revives, I had revives, whatever. I bought a whole bunch. But every battle you participated in, they took you back, and your Pokemon will heal, and then they just call you for the next battle.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a huge big fan of that because I was like, oh man, this is it. It's balls to the wall, and I gotta make sure I'm prepared. It didn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit disappointed, but still I had a good time with the interactions of the characters and going through the game, and there was still that level of difficulty that was still there. So I think that sums it up for me. What about you as far as difficulty?
Well, like any RPG game, the game will always be easier if you just take your time and level up your Pokemon. If you're taking your time and you're building up all that experience, and then you go into something fully leveled. That's what I did. Almost all the time, I was always too high of a level for where I was at. But that was only because I was spending so much time in the open world. A lot of times throughout the game, I took multiple breaks from the story, and I would just go into the wild area, which is basically the open world in the game. And I would spend hours just training, just doing max raid battles, because max raid battles were an incredible experience as well. And not only that, but the items that you got for them to give you experience could just be distributed to any Pokemon, even if they didn't participate in the battle. So you can actually build up on items, on experience items, in this case they're experience candies, and use them on Pokemon that are really low level to basically skyrocket their level.
Right.
And they made leveling this game so much easier and way faster than any other Pokemon game I've ever played. So I can get a Pokemon from level 1 to like level 70, 80, even a level 100 instantly, depending if I really was building up on candies, which I was. So almost every instance that I played, I didn't really have too much trouble in the game, but I didn't beat the story until about 50, 60 hours in. And I had about 300 Pokemon in the Pokédex at the time, which is about 75% of it done.
Yeah.
So I made it, in the very beginning of the game, I had made the decision to focus on the Pokédex. And doing so just allowed me to capture as many Pokemon as I can. I was constantly swapping out old Pokemon. So I didn't even have a full team. Even after I beat the game, I didn't have like a team. The only Pokemon that stayed on my team the entire time was pretty much my starter. So once the Pokemon evolved, I would pretty much just put them in a box, and then I would grab the next one that I caught and try to get the evolution of him by training, by capturing more Pokemon in the process. So at the same time, I was building up experience for the Pokemon to evolve, and then I was also capturing new Pokemon. So the process of capturing and evolving was helping to build up the Pokédex way faster.
Right.
So I've gotten pretty good at playing the Pokemon games. The last 2 Pokemon games, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I completed the Pokédex. I completed the Pokédex in Let's Go Pikachu, and now I've completed the Pokédex on here. So I would like to try to keep that process going.
Definitely. Definitely.
Now I do like that they made it, like in the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, there is no national dex, but you can still have Pokemon that aren't in the dex itself. Unlike this game where there's only strictly 400 Pokemon and that's it. 401 if you count Mew, because you can legitimately get Mew actually.
Right.
But Mew won't appear in the Pokédex at all either.
No.
So I'm thinking they might do something like that in the future, where they might release the game with more Pokemon.
I think so too. I mean, look at Pokemon Go on the mobile phone app.
Yeah.
They've released generation and generation. Maybe that's something they'll do here.
I'm thinking that, and it could happen. I mean, the data miners did see that there is sprites of other Pokemon in the game that aren't in the game. So it's like, it's weird because they're there, they're just not activated.
Right.
So,
conclusion. Would you suggest this game to a Switch owner or someone maybe who isn't very familiar with Pokemon?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think this is a good game for them to start?
Definitely. Actually, as far as starting, I think it's an excellent game for starting, especially for beginners, because it's very beginner friendly. And I think all the Pokemon games in the process over time have gotten easier for like learning and understanding. They've made training Pokemon easier. Even the really competitive aspect of Pokemon, where you'd be trying to breed Pokemon for, you know, good natures, good stats. They've made all of that stuff easier. They've created items in the game, which is a new element that can change the nature of your Pokemon at any time you want. That's an excellent feature. But it's definitely easier. It's far easier for people to get. I think it's great for starters.
And what you were explaining right there was like end game content. You know, if you want your Pokemon, you're done with the game, you're done catching Pokemon, but what's left? Shinies, of course.
Yep.
And battle ready Pokemon.
Yeah.
And you're getting good stats, you're getting the good IV stats. So I think, and in my opinion, I agree with Steven. I 100% would suggest this game to anyone.
Now, there was I did want to recap on one thing because we didn't really bring it up.
Right.
The trading.
Yes.
I was a little disappointed with the fact that there is no GTS in the game. So, what the GTS was in the old Pokemon games, it stood for Global Trading System, where you can post a Pokemon that you wanted to trade, and you can request a specific Pokemon, or you can look up a specific Pokemon. It made it really easy to find what you were trading for. The only problem I've had with that is that in this game, you can only trade to one person individually at any time, and you can't really communicate with them like the other Pokemon games. So trying to trade and complete the Pokédex can be a little bit tougher unless you're trading with your friends, stuff like that. So that was kind of like my only thing with the trading in there. Because all of the Pokemon games before that, well, up until the X and Y when they became online, I think even Black and White might have had that. But it made it so much easier to complete the decks. I was able to complete Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun, the Pokédex, in like the first week it came out.
Wow.
So if you're really determined, you can complete a dex really, really quickly. And the GTS made it almost like practically easy.
Yeah.
You know, it was you didn't have to make any effort really.
Maybe they wanted to add a little layer of difficulty for the catching of the Pokemon.
Maybe
I don't know.
did, you know.
Now, I know we discussed before, just my final thoughts. I know we discussed before that you're maxed out on the Pokemon. You have 400 Pokédex. I only have 139. How many hours do you have in the game right now?
So
is it close to 100?
I can definitely check.
Yeah.
I'm hatching at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I know my game time, and this is me. I didn't go exactly the route Steven went because Steven took way more time catching the Pokemon, evolving the Pokemon, so the hours played before he beat the game added up. Now, I didn't take as much time collecting and evolving the Pokemon as Steven did. So my hours when I beat the game was between 25 and 30 hours, which is, I think that's the appropriate time to beat a Pokemon game anyway.
Yeah.
But to actually 100% complete it when we get to the whole Pokédex and maybe even trying to catch some shinies, you're looking well over 100 hours.
Yeah.
I think so.
I completed the decks. I think I did so in about 70 hours,
Okay.
80. But I have that mindset where I know how to do it really quickly and everything. And like I said, I had, like, by the time I beat the main story, I had about 350 or 325 or something.
Right, and that's an incredible amount.
Yeah, so all at the end of the game, I had very little to do. Most of them were just exclusives to my game, so I had to trade with people that had the opposite game.
Exactly.
But currently, I have 126 hours into the game.
Okay.
I've already bred a couple of multiple shiny Pokemon, all bad already. I've bred a bunch of Pokemon trying to get hidden abilities, hidden abilities, certain egg moves, which they made a hell of a lot easier in this game too. So, and that's all about trying to get the ultimate competitive Pokemon. So, like that's that right there. You know.
Do you have anything else to add or anything like that?
No. Like ultimately, my conclusion is that it's a great game. I think people might have gotten a little too upset right away without actually knowing. After all, it was like the best-selling Switch game, best-selling Pokemon game.
Fastest selling Switch game, yeah.
And
it was like 6 million the first week or something like that.
So it's funny that so many people had talked bad about it, and then the game itself did phenomenal.
Right.
Like, it probably would have done even better.
It's going to continue to do phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
People have reviews like this one and other reviews out there on YouTube, and the big gaming industries reviewing the game. I haven't seen a bad review on the game. So that's going to help it. And Christmas time is right around the corner right now.
Oh, yeah. So I definitely would recommend getting it for Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, my little brother's getting it.
Exactly.
He's super excited. He's been watching me play it. He's watching my sister play it.
And it's a game for all ages. Like I said, we've been playing Pokemon since in the 90s. Yep. And it's a game for all ages. Your kids, yourself, doesn't matter. So, Steve, I just want to thank you for joining me today and doing a review. He's the Pokemon guru. That's why I let him join here today, and I appreciate you, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Anytime.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Adios.